Good afternoon, everybody, for a early edition, plus a late edition of the MYBC Virtual Bookstore Author Series. Thank you for joining in. Those of you that are watching at 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time and 9 p.m. over in the UK. I am super duper pumped and delighted to have these two lovely ladies who I have met through, shout out to Alexa Martinez over in the UK, that they have each written books, writing books together, and let's start the journey about the book. I often say at the top of this that if you have any questions for either Claire, or her name is Kelly, not Space and Freedom. No, Jules, sorry for Jules. Her last name's Kelly. Throw them into the comments on Facebook, and both these lovely ladies will come afterwards and take a look at your questions. I like to stay present for this gift of the literary journey. So welcome, lovely ladies from halfway around the world.
Thank you for having us.
So why don't we start with Claire and introduce yourself and where you are in this big blue marble.
Yeah, I love that description, the big blue marble. I am in a place called Liverpool in England, which is the northwest of England, and it's very cold here right now, and it's also 9 p.m. at night, and Jules is not far from me, about 50 miles, is it, Jules?
About 50 minutes.
About 50 minutes, yeah. So yeah, I live just outside the city of Liverpool. So Jules lives in a place called Congleton, so we don't live too far from each other. But I suppose for us in Britain, in comparison to where you are, we're quite close to each other, where we class it as a commute, don't we? 50 minutes, that's probably nothing to you guys over there.
That would be like me going from where I am into downtown Vancouver, into Vancouver, British Columbia. So it's about, I would say the same distance. Yeah. So Jules, introduce yourself.
Well, I'm Jules Kelly, and I am one half of Space and Freedom, and I live in Cheshire, Congleton, Cheshire, which is in the northwest of England as well. And I have been working, well, I've known Claire for 2 years, and we started working together towards the end of last year. And we've not really looked back since. So we were just drawn to work with each other, weren't we, Claire? And our human designs are aligned, and our mission, our values are all aligned. And so we just decided that after working on our own for lots and lots of years, that we were going to work together and just share the journey, which has been lovely.
Oh, I so love that. If anything in these last 3 years that have taught us, and I believe it's cemented even for my 3 pillars of my company, is that connection, collaboration is how you build thriving community. And to hear your level, I know a little bit about your story, and you'll get into it deeper in just a second here. You'll find, ladies, this is going to be very easy breezy, off Jeanette's kind of curiosity as questions come off my head, kind of conversation. Is that magic of collaboration is where the secret sauce is these days, is in that collaboration. We can't do it all ourselves. We can, and how boring would that be to do it all ourselves, and then we have nobody to share with, for heaven's sakes. So Claire, why don't you explain kind of what your background is and where your literary journey started?
Oh, in terms of my literary journey, that started way back when, in primary school, where I used to absolutely love the work of an author called Enid Blyton. I don't know whether you know her. She was a very popular British author, and that I used to love being taken off into the world of Mallory Towers and the Famous Five, and it was always about discovery and journeys of younger children. So I absolutely loved reading in my earlier years, and then as I got older and I started mixing with different people, started going to high school, was attracted to boys, all of that, you end up that journey away from reading and learning. I was learning new things to experience, but not necessarily reading. And I didn't come back to reading until I was about 23 and I decided to go and do a business degree. When I was working in, I don't know whether you know it in where you are, but QVC, the shopping channel.
Yes,
I was working there. So I worked there for a long time and I absolutely loved it. And I became part of their training team. And I worked my way through and became a learning and development consultant. So that's when after the coming out, growing up, party days, and then thinking, oh my God, I really need to get a proper job. I need to like learn something. I need some type of framework because I can't just keep being a wild child. So yeah, that was 23 and I read a lot of books. The biggest wake-up call to me in terms of personal development books was Eckhart Tolle, The Power of Now, which was about, I think it was 20 years ago. And it really woke me up to this thing about us living in the present moment and just being at peace. And that was then when I started my journey into personal development and into wellness. And I like to incorporate it in all elements of my life and in the training that I was doing around leadership. So I was doing a lot of mindset work, emotional intelligence work with leaders in business, but I was teaching it. I wasn't actually embodying it. So it was only about 10 years ago when I hit rock bottom that I thought, I really need to embody this self-awareness, emotional intelligence and present moment shizzle, as well as like I decided to go to yoga. And that really helped me, and that helped me to start embodying who I really was. And then that led me on to so many more personal development books. So I've read tons of books, but Eckhart Tolle was the biggest one for me that opened me up into who I am today, and then going into the likes of yoga philosophy. So it's about, as you can tell, I love talking. I always have been a talker, and me and Jules met on a speaking mastermind, didn't we? So
you didn't need one, did you?
I don't know. I do love a talk, but I was asked when we were, when COVID hit and the world went into lockdown. And there was a guy that approached me on LinkedIn called Eric Severson, and he's an already published author. And he said he was looking for authors to collaborate on a book, a co-author book. So I was like, okay, don't really class myself as an author, and I don't know whether I could, what I could write about. And then he said, well, I'm looking at your LinkedIn profile, and it says that you are a yoga teacher, and you talk about the science and the neuroscience of yoga as well as meditation. So I ended up putting a thing together, like a little manuscript for him, because he asked me to say, just tell me what you talk about in this chapter, put something together. He came back and went, that's brilliant. This book's going to be called The Successful Mind. That element of what you bring to the book will help our readers really understand what the successful mind means through yoga and through the science of yoga. So that's what my chapter was all about. And it was a really lovely experience for me to actually take that time out and write the chapter. And again, mine is a chapter of a book. Jules has written a whole book, but it gave me that taste into, do you know what, I've got a lot to say, so it might be good to have it in the written word as well. So that was 3 years ago. So, and it was published and it went to bestseller in 6 categories at the time. And it got me to meet a lot of other people across the globe, 33 other people who became part of that book, and developed relationships as well. And it was a really interesting process about how the way the books are published. And I know that there's a thing where in America where it gets published in the Library of Washington, and it has an extra stamp on it. And it was something I didn't know. So it was a huge learning journey on how books are published and the editing process. Which has obviously given me that hunger to do another one, which is obviously what we'll talk about in a little while. So books.
I love that journey. I love how you shared the love of book and coming back to books and how they were so important and how you needed to embody, you know, the book in your story. Before you could write it to somebody else, you had to believe it as well. So fantastic, Claire. So let's move over to Miss Jules. So Jules, explain your background, where, you know, what you do in this, you know, on this Big Blue Marble and how you serve, and what led you on your literary journey to publish a standalone book as an author.
Okay, so I didn't like reading as a kid. I've got to be honest. I didn't like reading. I didn't like school. I didn't like all of that whole stuff. I found learning the stuff that we learned at school not helpful. I mean, I've never used
Go ahead, you
Pythagoras'
can use the
theorem.
word useless. I don't mind if you use the word useless.
Mine wasn't going to be that polite, but like there's so much stuff that you learn at school that has got no application really outside, well, for us anyway in the UK. And I didn't actually sort of start reading for enjoyment until probably my early 20s. And now I read so much now, but really self-development books. And I read lots of different genres of books when I'm on holiday. Like literally, I have a book glued to my hand or a Kindle glued to my hand all of the time. So I love reading now because I get a choice of what I read. I get a choice of what lights me up. I get a choice of what I do with my life. I'm not on this hamster wheel, society's hamster wheel anymore, because I fell off it. I fell off that hamster wheel in 2017. So that was the start of my real journey into my waking up, if you like, my wake up call. I had gone to school. I was born in Germany, didn't speak English until I was 6, went into school without speaking English. And the way that society works over here is that you work hard at school so that you can get a good job, so that you can buy a house, so that you can be in debt until you retire and die. That's kind of how it works. And so the bit for me was I was on this hamster wheel and running really, 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 really fast, because that's what we do. And then I fell off it in 2017 when I had a full mental and physical breakdown, having lived with fibromyalgia since a car accident in 2006. But I had to bring home the bacon, as it were, and so I had to carry on. And I didn't listen to my body, and my body shut down. God love her, she did her best under what I put her through. And that was my wake-up call. And then I decided to get well. And so I decided to get well, and I decided that fibromyalgia was not welcome in my world. And I decided that I wasn't going to be controlled by opiate pain medication anymore. And I wasn't passing all the control over from my body to the medics. And it wasn't the medics' fault that I was where I was. It was me. It was my belief system, my life, my understanding, my upbringing, my whole belief of this is how you lived your life. So I decided enough was enough, and I stopped taking all of my medication. And I at the time I'd applied for my blue parking badge. I was pretty much bedridden. I didn't really have any quality of life, and I thought this has just got to stop. So the last lot of medication I had were beta blockers, and I felt my body shutting down. One day I was sat in mum's garden and I felt my body shutting down, and I slept for 2 days. And then when I woke up and I realized I wasn't dead, that was it. I thought, right, this is not a life. This is no life. So I got well. I stripped out everything. I started taking, I looked into complementary therapies. I looked into alternative therapies. I stripped out all of the toxins in my world. I stripped out all the chemicals in my world. I started learning about my body and how it worked, and what I could do to help it thrive. And I got well. And then I got really, really fed up and really frustrated that the system only supports a medicated response in the UK.
I think that's global, Jules. We have the most incredibly well-funded sick care system.
Absolutely. Our healthcare system is absolutely a sick care system. And obviously we have the NHS here in the UK. And I think 10 years in to my fibromyalgia before I was offered anything other than medication. And I was offered 10 sessions of talking therapy 6 sessions of talking therapy 10 years in. I was like that. Well, okay, then we'll do that. And so I then thought other people need to know that there is another way. And I think people just thought it was complete crackpot that I was just saying, well, no, try this. Frankincense works amazingly for pain. Why would you take codeine? Why would you take all of these different opiates when you can have exactly the same response by doing this and actually feeling better for it? So I went through that process. I dealt with all the trauma. I started learning about metaphysics and about how we store trauma in our body. And as I cleansed my body of the chemicals and I cleansed my body of the trauma, the pain left. And I now live a normal life. I can move, I can engage with life again. So I wrote a program called the Life Audit and Radical Self-Care Program. That was the first step. And I didn't know what I was going to do with it, but I just knew that I needed to put something out there. And then someone said to me, Jules, you should write a book. And so I did that. So basically my book is called The Fading Woman. It's here, my book. It's called The Fading Woman. And it was because I was a fading woman. And I had stopped being the person that I wanted to be. And at 47, I asked myself the first time in my life, what do you want from life? And so what drives me now is I want people to ask themselves that question much earlier than 47. I want our children to learn that they should do what lights them up, what brings them joy. We're here for a very short time in the whole scheme of things. And for people that are living with chronic health conditions, know that they can change that. They don't have to be a slave to chronic ill health if they choose to do the work. And I know that can be really triggering for a lot of people, because some people can be sitting there going, well, I don't know how to do that. I can't do that. But I honestly believe with the right support, with the right education, with the right direction, I believe that you can do anything that you put your mind to.
And it takes people along with it. We're so used to here's a pill, walk away. And this morning I was having a conversation with somebody. We were talking about chemicals. I love natural, I drink black coffee. It's organic, it's fair trade. Like, I know the company inside and out for when I choose to drink coffee. I choose to drink milk, it's organic milk. I know the dairy farmer that I get my milk from. Is that if we take the chemical today, we will be taking the pill tomorrow. So make your decision up on what you are consuming in your body surrounding, and that when you have your approach that your book is written about it, as well as Claire, what your book and your chapter is about, you can't go to yoga by yourself and get what you need out of it. You need the instructor beside you, whatever the energy sources or the kind words. With you, Jules, it's here's the book, but I'm here with you. The voice is here with you, the step along this journey. And it goes back to that collaboration, that connection, that community that you build, that we live in pain by ourselves, but our relief is with each other. That if I can have you in my life to kind of just lift me up in this situation, it's going to be a better life. It's going to be a better life. So I'm loving this conversation, and ladies, we could talk forever and ever and ever about this. And I'd love to move now on to, so you fell in love with each other and went, you know what, we need to collaborate. We're in love with both of what our stories are all about. So Claire, why don't you, or whoever said, we need to write a book together. So go from being a collaboration author, which has got lots of people and lots of moving parts, to Jules, you moving your own parts over here to get this done. So now you've got working together. So what is that looking like right now, ladies?
So what Claire and I are working on at the moment in the UK is we're working on a clinical trial pilot for people with fibromyalgia. And obviously that was the condition that I had. And I've been trying like a bear to run away from fibromyalgia because it took up so much of my life, but the universe keeps popping it back. And that is, I understand that that is my purpose. This is what I'm here to do. This is what we're here to do. We're here to help people. We're here to spread that message. And the way that we're going to do that is via our book. So the next book is in the pipeline. And I think we decided, Claire, haven't we, that it's going to be called, it started off quite rude, but it's now going to be called Finding Freedom from Fibro.
Oh, okay.
And we're working on a clinical trial pilot at the moment because I spoke at a International Women's Day event for a local police force here. And then I was invited back to speak at their Fibromyalgia Awareness Day. Now, there was a professor of pain medicine on that call too, and I challenged his thinking around the trauma impact on health and the chemical impact on health, and that the system only supported a medicated response. And so I was tenacious and I kept in touch, and we were invited to come and prove our life freedom method on some delegates of his clinical trial.
Oh.
And so we've been working with the people on this pilot now we're into week 9 out of 12 weeks, and we've reduced pain by just over 80%. And so it's huge. And so not only have we affected these people's quality of life, the next step is at the end of February that they will have their blood tests taken again, because they found there's an antibody that affects the root dorsal ganglia in the spinal cord. If we could, well, hopefully when the blood tests are taken again at the end of this period, we will be able to show a physiological change, so that we've then got the physiological change plus the actual quality of life change together to create a solution that isn't a tablet. And it, like you say, it's much more than a tablet. It is having that support system, and it's that process that Claire and I are putting into a book. So where Claire comes into that, obviously she works with the Reiki element, she works with the coaching element, she works with the meditation and the yoga element where applicable. That all is part of the melting pot of the Space and Freedom method together. So that's the next book.
Oh, I love it. So let's go into for the next kind of couple minutes. So Claire, who's responsible for, okay, you're doing the writing, I'm doing the editing, I'm coming up with the chapter names. Okay, are we having an index? Are we having like the part where the case studies, I can't remember what that's called in the back of the book, where you quote
references.
Thank you.
Yeah.
The reference. So who is responsible, Claire, for putting it all
Can't wait
together?
today.
No, Jules. No, I'm only joking. Right, so in terms of the name, Jules was quite good with that, because the name that we've now decided on, which is much more palatable for people, because the other one was going to be FU Fibro, which will probably be more of a better seller. So the way that we work together, we are very collaborative. And when Jules talked about human design before, which is a framework that we use together, all of the stuff that I don't like doing, Jules likes doing.
Okay.
All of the stuff Jules doesn't like doing, I like doing. So we gel together pretty well. So in terms of the layout of the book, I believe that we've got a framework. I believe I'll write chapters where I'm specialist in my piece. Jules will do the same. And then what we'll do is, because we've done this before, because obviously there's documentation for the clinical trial, was then we read each other's and see how it flows. And obviously deciding on the framework and the chapters and where each element fits in, because I've got something called the space method and Jules has got the life freedom method. So I'm hoping to see that I will bring my space method program into the book, and that'll be broken down. Jules will have hers, and then it's okay, we need to get together and I see us, I've said this to Jules this week, that we need to lock ourselves away in like a cottage. I keep seeing a cottage in the middle of a lovely countryside where we don't get to
That's
stay.
my house.
Well, it could possibly
We'd
be
get
in
nothing to do there,
Canada.
Jeanette. We'd end up chatting all the time.
So, I feel like because we've both got families, we've got dogs, we've got busy big families, and we love them to bits. But for me, I feel like I need to be locked away. I only wrote a chapter of a book last time, and I had to lock myself away for a weekend, and it was a chapter. Some people write chapters in an hour. So we've thrashed out some of the bare bones, and we know that we've got a lot of work to do, but that's how I see it happening. Whether Jules wants to do that, I don't know, because what do you
Just go pick her up and say you're going for coffee, and don't take her home, and take her somewhere.
I'd love to put her off. Yeah, to be honest, yeah, that sounds like, but I saw seaside in my vision.
Well, there you go.
Okay.
I saw the seaside. So we work to each other's strengths, and and Claire has got like the detail eye, so I can whack all the words down, and she will then hone in on all the mistakes. And what was that, the humna cumna? She just like, I just go to speed. So when I wrote my last book, you have the framework, you've got an idea of what's going where, and that's what we'll plan out, how we put them in, and it will follow the process that we followed with these people on the trial, how we have taken them from A to B, from being pain-ridden to pain-free, and how we then bring in all the different modalities that we share as a duo to help them create that, but also to help the reader. So the reader can follow it in a way that they can then do the same. So this isn't an ego piece. Jeanette, this isn't an ego piece book. This is about how you can, if you've got fibromyalgia and you want to really get well, here's the book. And
beautiful.
The only bit that isn't there is us on tap. But, if we create an online space where people that are reading the book can then come and collaborate and support one another, because I think that is one of the key areas with the people that are on the trial, is that we're not just giving them a tablet and saying crack on with that. There is somebody that will say, how do you feel today? If there's tears, there are hugs that you don't get in the doctors.
Right.
So all of that will be in the book, and then Claire will edit it. And I'll run a mile. Claire will edit it, and then we will pass it over, and then and that'll be that. I don't see, for me it's a process that just gets done. But Claire does the detail, I'll do the big bits.
Okay. It sounds like you've got a well mapped out thought process framework as well. So I'd love to wrap this up with this question that comes to mind. So Jules, for your first book, I'd love for you to tell me 2 people that you believe this book would be a great gift for.
Okay. Great gift.
Or could be gifted, or who needs to read the book?
Who needs to read it? God, I've forgotten her name. Lady Gaga.
Okay.
She's got fibromyalgia. Who else has got? Morgan Freeman.
Okay.
And any human that is living in chronic pain.
Okay, great. So
that was
Claire,
3 million.
Okay, that's okay. That's awesome. You get a bonus one. You know that "But wait, there's more" commercial? That was there. So Claire, for your collaboration book, we'll give you 3. Who are 3 people that you would see would benefit from reading your collaboration book?
Anybody who feels lost, stuck, lacking in purpose, which a lot of people are right now. I think we're so disconnected from reality, right, with the way that we live in these modern times. And if I'm going for famous people, God,
choose someone fit so we can do a one-to-one.
I'd love to give this to Brad Pitt, and after what he's been through, God love him. And do you know what? I'm just thinking there's quite a few famous celebrities in the UK, and there's a lot of people on the Love Island show. I think it will be good for them.
Yeah, for sure.
And I'm going to come up with, to wrap this up, to what I've heard, the person to keep on top of, or thought process for your current book. And what you shared with me, I'm going to say for your current book, when it hits the shelf for pre-order status, and we'll make sure later on we get that link put onto this video when it lives evergreen on my Facebook page, is every single fibromyalgia association around the world. There's nothing better than having a proof positive book or a guideline. I'm also going to say those that are in social work, that are working with people that are in pain, there's nothing better to understand language in order to communicate.
Yeah.
And I'm also going to say for this particular book, to build fibromyalgia, is someone who has been recently diagnosed with X, whatever that X is, and to be able to step into someone else's story to understand there's a light at the end of the proverbial tunnel would be a great book. So those ladies, from what you shared with me today on this series or this trial that you're doing, and being patient enough to share it out to the world, kind of that how-to. And I truly believe that online presence, whether it be a LinkedIn group, a Facebook group, or whatever you're going to run it, the power of hearing word and energy, and someone even just coming out the screen, knowing I'm giving you a hug, can you feel it? Okay, my hands are on your shoulders right now, is going to be very beneficial. And that could be a little thing at the back of the book. Join our Facebook group or LinkedIn group, or wherever you want, as you're not alone. These words do not live just in black and white on this page. So thank you so much for sharing today. And I leave you with, each one of you, with this question. So to the people out there, I believe we're all at 99% of wanting to do something, and through the words of somebody else, that 1% will kick us in the hiney, because when somebody else says we can do something, and then when it's a success, we go 99 fingers back at ourselves going, I knew it was going to be good. And we never reward the 1%. And when something doesn't work out, we point 99 fingers at the person that said, oh yeah, you should do this. Yeah. So Miss Claire, what would be your words of wisdom for someone to say? Write a book.
A goal without a plan is just a wish. So if you've got a goal and you want to do something and you want to go after it, you have to plan it. Otherwise, it's just a wish.
Got it. Love it. So Miss Jules, what would be your
You completely lost me. Bloody Nora, Claire, that was a good one. Can you come up with...
It's my open head centre, it's coming in.
I truly believe that I honestly truly believe that you can do absolutely anything that you put your mind to, and with integrity plus intention plus action, you will get your reward.
Beautiful words, beautiful words. Thank you ever so much, both of you lovely ladies. Please hang on to the screen after we go off, because I need to take a screenshot to make my lovely fun thumbnail. And I leave you with those that are watching this either live or on the replay. Take your mind, body, and soul through the words written by someone else, and you will learn the wisdom that people have lived the life or lived the story, so your life story can be that much better. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in and watching the MYBC Virtual Bookstore Author Series. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.